Here is a question that sounds simple but goes very deep. Who are you? Not what you do for work, not where you are from. Who are you, fundamentally, as a person? If you are like most people, the answer feels obvious until you actually try to pin it down. And the moment you start paying attention, something unsettling becomes clear. You are not the same person in every situation. With your mother, you are a child. With your employees, a leader. With your oldest friend, someone who can say anything. With a stranger at a party, a curated performance. Are all of these equally you? Are any of them the real you? William James, the father of American psychology, grappled with this question over a century ago, and his answer was both more radical and more comforting than most people expect. James introduced the concept of the social self in his masterwork, The Principles of Psychology. His core claim was this: a person has as many social selves as there are individuals who recognize him. This was not a criticism of human nature. It was a description of how identity actually works. For James, the self is not a fixed object stored somewhere behind your eyes. It is a dynamic process, constantly shaped and reshaped by the social environment. But James went further. He proposed that selfhood has multiple layers, like an onion. At the outermost layer is the material self, your body, your possessions, your home. We identify powerfully with our physical surroundings. When someone criticizes your home, it feels like a criticism of you. When your car is dented, you feel personally damaged. James noticed this long before consumer psychology turned it into a science. The next layer inward is the social self, and this is where things get genuinely fascinating. The social self is not one thing. It is a collection of selves, each summoned by a different social context. James observed that it is almost always the case that we show a different side of ourselves to each person we know. The professor who is authoritative in the lecture hall becomes gentle and uncertain in his therapist's office. The tough guy executive who intimidates boardrooms becomes soft and silly with his young children. This is not inconsistency. This is social intelligence operating exactly as it should. Modern social psychology has confirmed James's intuition with remarkable precision. The sociologist Irving Goffman built an entire theoretical framework, dramaturgical theory, on the idea that social life is essentially theatrical. We are always performing, always managing impressions, always adjusting our presentation to fit the stage we are on. Mark Snyder's research on self-monitoring showed that people vary tremendously in how much they adjust their behavior to social cues, and that high self-monitors, those most sensitive to social context, are often the most socially successful. But here is the crucial question that James wrestled with. If we have all these social selves, where is the real one? Is there a core self underneath all the performances? James's answer was subtle. He did not deny that we have an inner core. He located it in what he called the spiritual self, not in a religious sense, but as the felt sense of our own thinking, our values, our deepest convictions. The spiritual self is what remains constant across all contexts. Your commitment to honesty, your aesthetic sensibilities, your deepest loves and fears. The social self changes. The spiritual self persists. And the relationship between them is where identity is forged. This framework has an important practical implication. Many people suffer from what we might call identity anxiety, the uneasy feeling that because they behave differently in different contexts, they must be somehow fake or inauthentic. James's framework dissolves this anxiety. Context sensitivity is not inauthenticity. It is social fluency. The problem arises only when the social performances are completely disconnected from the spiritual core, when we perform selves so foreign to our deepest values that we no longer recognize ourselves. Think of the person who spends decades performing the role of dutiful corporate employee, suppressing every creative impulse, every authentic preference, every genuine relationship, in service of an identity that was never truly theirs. James would say they have lost touch with their spiritual self. They have mistaken the performance for the performer. There is also a profound insight in James's observation that others literally construct parts of us. The recognition we receive from significant others, parents, teachers, friends, partners, does not just describe us. It creates us. The child who is told repeatedly that she is creative becomes creative. The student who is seen as a leader begins to lead. James understood that identity is not discovered but co-created, in the ongoing conversation between self and world. This means that the people you surround yourself with are not just your companions. They are your collaborators in the ongoing project of becoming who you are. James would urge you to choose them carefully. Seek out those who reflect back the self you most want to be, not through flattery, but through genuine recognition of your best qualities. And when you find yourself feeling fragmented, pulled in different directions by conflicting social roles, remember James's deeper teaching. The multiplicity is not the problem. The disconnection from your core values is. Tend the spiritual self, your convictions, your integrity, your deepest commitments, and the social selves can be as various as life demands, without losing the thread of who you truly are. James's theory of the social self is one of the most practically useful ideas in the history of psychology. If you want to explore more of his revolutionary thinking, subscribe to The Psychology of William James. There is so much more to discover.